recognize them. First is the writer-director, Aaron Schimberg. And we have star Sebastian. Thanks, guys. We've done a few of these tonight, so we're friends now. This movie raises so many interesting questions that I want to dig into, but just hearing the ending of the movie, kind of again hanging out in there, I'm sort of struck by my initial feeling of this movie has a sort of wonderfully morbid, bleakly comic soul. And when I think about things like the ice cream truck trying to get around the ambulance body, or the way that the neighbor hanging himself is kind of unfolds, where does that come from, Aaron? Other than, of course, from within.
Right. I think my anxiety is about living in New York. I like the hole in the ceiling, which people assume is metaphorical. I almost took it out because it's so blunt metaphorically, but it just came from a hole in my apartment. That was worse than the one in the film. It was so bad that it caused a hole in the floor, which then caused a hole in the ceiling below it. So, and that was an early disillusionment I had with living in New York when I moved about 20 years ago, because I realized anywhere else I lived, this would be declared a health hazard, and a superintendent would fix it right away. And here it was like, fuck you, you should have your security deposit. And so, like, and I noticed everywhere else I lived, when an ambulance comes down the street, cars move out of the way, and here, you're likely to die in the ambulance trying to get behind a parked car. So it's just these anxieties accumulate, and through the movie.
Adam and Sebastian, how did you guys react to that? I mean, that's maybe you don't necessarily share that worldview, but you've got to resonate with the sort of bleak despair comedy moments that are in the script.
I love bleak and dark comedy. I'm from London. I'm reinvented that. So I'm all about that kind of, the darker the better is where I stand. Because it gives people like permission to feel uncomfortable. And then when they catch themselves laughing, they go, oh, I'm a messed up person too. One. So, yeah, I love that kind of humor.
Yeah, I mean, we've been sort of talking a bit in these Q&As here and there about permission to laugh and to find, when you find things funny or not, and how do you do it in a conscious way, and of everything that kind of what the scene is in the context of the movie, but a lot of stuff, a lot of suffering is funny. I know you said it the other day, it's like, when you were talking about writing comedy, right, like even sometimes actors really committing to what's there and making it as trying to be as real, as grounded as possible, and tragic in it actually can be, the more serious they are, the more funny it can be, it's a funny thing with humor, because sometimes really allows us to process things better, I think.
I should say that the ambulance scene, I don't know how it was in this screening, but that ambulance scene I've noticed is when people start to feel that they have the permission to laugh, and they think after that people start laughing at the film, and they think that's when the film gets funny. But I think if you were to watch it again, which of course you will, I think it actually is funny from the beginning, but I think that scene seems to be the moment that gives people permission, I guess, quote unquote permission to laugh.
Another thing I like about this movie is that it's a kind of reverse of a lot of films we see about people who are disabled or disfigured, like almost like a reverse, Vanilla Sky is an example that I'm thinking of, where you see an actor who undergoes a transformation that then they become either disabled or disfigured, and sometimes it leads to an Oscar nomination. And then this movie takes the opposite course of that. Were you kind of trying to be contrary to that rhythm?
I don't know about contrarian. I think I've been trying throughout my whole career in life to some extent to portray disability and disfigurement. I have a cleft palate in a way that is true to my experience. And the problem with doing that is that you have to work through layers of prejudice, not only about disfigurement, but also films about disfigurement, portrayals of disfigurement. So it's almost like I have to incorporate these tropes into the films in order to counteract them. I mean, I think, for instance, this Oswald character, the sort of positive, upbeat, disfigured character, it doesn't function alone, because I think people start to wonder, well, what do people think of this character, or what about the prejudice that this character has to go through? It doesn't make sense, it's not realistic. Or if he's positive but people are making fun of him or mocking him, then what's wrong with him that it's not affecting him? So I almost had to start with a sort of the usual idea, which is based on some truth. I tried to make some of that pain that I've experienced real in the character of Edward, but it's like I needed to have Edward in order to finally introduce Oswald. Not because Oswald is necessarily a false portrayal, but because I think people would wonder, also they would wonder why am I watching. There's nothing about this character, he's just a person, he's just a regular guy. There's no movie, without without making people wonder what all their thoughts about that they have, and all their prejudices and all their feelings and all their curiosities. And so the movie is trying to sort of navigate all these issues. I forgot what your question was.
That's a good answer. I mean, it's a movie that deals with a lot of questions and isn't necessarily trying to answer them, and that's what makes it certainly more provocative. Adam, for you, I wonder, you're an actor with neurofibromatosis, and then you're playing character Oswald, who also is dealing with that, but that we talked about before, that's like it's sort of a footnote to what he's about. He is a charisma machine, and he has this magnetism about him that commands a room. What inspired you about that character, and what about this particular role might inform your choices, or might want to pursue as an actor going forward?
So coming to this one and getting to work with Aaron again, we did change, and I played Rosenthal, who was a slightly shy character, and then everyone just assumed I was playing a version of myself. So to have a role written like this, I could come and flex, show a bit of range, and sort of be myself a bit more, but turn the volume way up. Like, that wardrobe is so unnecessary. To do that is great, and something the disability has took out, and just not the raise and vector for the character getting there. And to get out of the three main stereotypes that we so often see portrayed, the victim, the villain, or the false hero. And so that was good. Forward, future decisions, I'm going to take it all on a case-by-case basis. And I don't want to assume anything, and this is where it all ends. But I had a run, got to reconnect with Schimberg, and I got to make a great movie with the stable of the silver screen. And it's all going to be on like a case-by-case basis. I don't want to assume anything. But I think I sort of now like shown the range and sort of made my point. I think somewhere down the line, where you need to have a conversation about if I as a disabled actor, I'm that good. Who else is out there? What other disabled actors are equally that good? Maybe better, But basically, and how many kind of amazing disabled actors are out there that we're missing out on? Simply because Hollywood can't sign them, can't be bothered to sign them, or isn't looking for them.
Yeah, Adam, I'm glad you brought up, to mention that you previously with Aaron made Change for Life. So obviously you two had a shorthand in a relationship. Did you invite Adam into the conversation about casting Sebastian Stan? Because I know by then you had sort of built the movie A Different Man around that.
No, I think Adam's initial input was, I asked him if he'd want to work with me again. He said yes. I said at some point, halfway through the script, if he's still interested, he said yes. And then I sent him the script, and I was very nervous, and he texted back about 2 or 3 hours later. See me, I have to learn to yodel and do karaoke, and that was it. And then and then of course I knew what he was capable of as an actor. And I know that Adam and Sebastian had their own conversations, but in terms of casting Sebastian, no, I don't know if I think he was happy about that.
Well, yeah. Well, Sebastian, what were some of those conversations when you first met Adam and you first started talking about playing this kind of 2 versions of a person that are playing off of each other and against each other?
Yeah, no, we had like a Zoom initially, and Adam was in London, and then I told Aaron that I really wanted to speak with Adam and try to whether he was going to be open to maybe sharing with me some of the experiences growing up, and he very candidly and generously did. And then right off the bat, I think we kind of both talked a bit about the relationship dynamic and how that there was a lot there to play, and I think we were both very excited about it.
Yeah, there's lots to bounce off and have fun with and to do, but without also overthinking it. I think if you overanalyze like a dynamic, it sort of gets in the way of it. Whereas if you sort of have fun with it and play with it and come to it with the same understanding, it will find its own level.
Sebastian, you spend obviously a lot of the movie in a prosthetic created by Mike Marino. And then you are as Edward, and then you are out of that prosthetic as Guy. As an actor, suddenly out of that sort of mask, if you will, did you feel exposed at all, or in a way that was scary, or did you have a different feeling about the project?
I mean, that's interesting, the word exposed. I didn't really think about. I was very lucky that I had time with the prosthetics that I did at the beginning. Even before we shot a little bit, and then in the city and the world, but also because we managed to get, we didn't shoot chronologically, but we managed to get a lot of the earlier Edward in sort of how we started the shoot. So I was able to kind of lock in on some of the physicality and some of sort of the things that I felt about Edward would continue to stay with him. The things that maybe would be more recognizable at face value, even beyond what was happening inside for him, so that even after he sort of looks different, hopefully you would be feeling the same person. And but it was, yeah. There was really something very lonely about sort of obviously the experience of the prosthetics, but also there was something really protective. So and I was very worried about what would the second half of the film be like, and I think it was when we shot that bar scene and going out there for the first time, sort of without them. Into the world, walking around sort of the first time after he goes through the change and stuff, that was kind of helpful in tying things together. Go, okay, I think it's gonna work out.
We also had some perhaps informative experiences in the prosthetic being out in New York when not necessarily, with the cameras necessarily weren't rolling. And similarly, Adam, you, like, I don't know how much you had been to New York before, but you spent time out and around in the city, and you had other experiences of like that, encounters with people.
Well, when I'm going to be somewhere for a while, I like to make a point of trying to behave like I'm going to be there for the rest of my life. So when we shot it, I was around for nearly 2 months, and so I was like, okay, cool, let's hit the ground running. Let's sign your coffee place, your breakfast place, and your bar, and make those your hotspots and kind of get to know people. And sort of like, and of course they're a bit stand-up-ish at first, because you go into this bizarre fight or freeze mechanic, but then the more you can like lovingly kind of let people in and be like, yeah, cool, I get it, but it's okay, kind of, I don't bite, and that's what you're into, and then, yeah. And then you sort of just become like a regular dude. Once you've done like a bit of heavy lifting and spoken to people and let people sort of have their own little awkward moments and push that discomfort and have the dark night of the soul, if you will, then you're just a dude. Then you're just a guy. And so by the end of it, I could walk into O'Hara in 90 West and everyone would be like, Adam! So yeah, I think that's a testament to when you've done it right. And even in the what week I've been here, I've been going to like the same bars, got to know Derek, the owner of the Get Me Not quite well. Went to Meow Parlour, an adorable cat cafe on Essex. If ever distressed or needs to decompress, Meow Parlour's a good place with cats around. Yeah, it was great. And yeah, I think you put the hard work in, right? Because ultimately we're all humans, we're all different, we're all messed up. I don't see why we shouldn't all be different and messed up together.
Yes. Yeah, and then Sebastian, for you, talk about what happened when you were.
I feel like I've said it, yeah, I mean, so many times. No, it was really, it was a very scary experience, but it was incredibly informative, obviously, to, no one doubted I was an actor walking around prosthetics, and again, I talked about sort of going into this coffee shop where I go I used to go quite often, where I knew the baristas and everything, and even just going through that experience, waiting in line and just ordering and just the interaction and seeing the sort of hustle and bustle of like New York, kind of hurry up and get, and suddenly it gets to me and everything sort of changes and again, it's not, I think it's hard, I think there was so many informative lessons there, obviously, in terms of just, right, coming the closest to possibly walking into Adam's shoes, to some extent, or somebody else's shoes in those situations. But it also shows how much people really don't know what to do. They don't really know how to handle that moment. The intention can be good, but I've learned that it's also more complicated than the intention itself. And a lot of it comes from just really not having enough exposure to with each other, however we look, so it's normalized and it's not, falling into these kind of extreme places of overcompensating or sort of like total avoidance but it definitely feels like there's a giant spotlight on you at all times. I mean, so it was invaluable towards the movie and my experience in it.
Okay, we have time. I could do one audience question. If there is one, I'll go right here. Yes, because you were right there by my line.
So this is actually my third time seeing this. I love this every single time. Yeah. But I do have a question for Sebastian. So how is it working with prosthetics again? Since it was like, I know that you used prosthetics in Fresh and it was like very like the gore kind of aspect to it, and this also used the gore aspect, and like as an actor, like using prosthetics and stuff, like does that help you with like becoming a character and stuff like that? And like, those kind
Well,
of-
that was also like very dark because it's
Yeah.
kind of like a fight and stuff. I mean, but yeah, I think, you know, I mean, I sort of still have like a very 14-year-old teenage kind of approach to the prosthetics. You know, it's like I still, to me, I remember going up on stage like being a kid and, you know, someone's giving you a cape and like a crown and you're like, oh, it still comes from a place of that can allow freedom in the sense of getting out of your own sort of thing, which is what you get used to doing very often if you just kind of, so, but those were very different, two very different movies, but,
All right, well, thank you guys so much.
Okay, give it one more.
Oh, all right.
Thank you, Sebastian.
Okay, here.
Hi.
Hi, go ahead.
Hi.
Here,
Oh.
I can give you this, actually.
Sure.
Here.
Hi, my name's Ashley. Nice to meet you guys. The movie was incredible. I was just gonna ask, I know that when it comes to final cuts of movies, a lot of scenes get cut out. So this is for all of you. Is there any particular scene that you wish had stayed in the movie that you shot?
That's a
Great question.
Yeah.
Not a lot was cut. The things that were cut, that I regretted, not regretted, but that were hard for me to cut. There was a dream sequence, actually, a sort of nightmare that Edward has, that was maybe induced by the medication he was on, in sort of a medical nightmare. The movie didn't need it, but I thought it was pretty good. And there was also a scene when they're in the diner together after the suicide. That scene actually went on longer, and the cook at the diner went up to them and was sort of harassing Edward. And I really liked that part of I really liked that scene, and I liked the actor who played him, but the scene was already 6-7 minutes long,
I mean, there's a scene where Oswald's doing jiu-jitsu. Where he's standing the whole body part, and I totally kicked that guy's ass. And now it's sort of cutting on the floor, and my alpha maleness is not really in the hell.
Yeah, and it was, Renata was feeding me food. That's in there? Okay,
All right, well, thank you all. The Different Man it's in New York and LA now, but then on October 4th, it will be in theaters everywhere. So do tell your friends about it.